All right, thanks for joining us. Another Spin That Shit podcast. Great guest today, Mick Mullins with us. There's a lot of junk and shit on the internet and social media, people fighting this, that, and the other. But there is some good that happens every now and then. So, and this is one of them. This artist here I would not have probably found if it wasn't for having this show and connecting with people on Instagram and things like that. So excited to have Mick on. We're going to talk about his music. He's got a new record out called Mullin' It Over. Some good stuff on there. We're going to dive in and kind of discuss all that and some of the tracks that he has on that record. Nashville artist. So before we do that, got to say thanks to everyone for subscribing, helping out, sharing. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, of course. Please subscribe. Trying to build this thing, and there is a PayPal link donation if you want to help throw us a few bones and so we get some better gear. So I think that's all I wanted to say, kind of running through it. But let's go talk to Mick, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hey, thanks for joining us on the most laid-back show ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Blessed to be here, man.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've seen a little bit of the show. We kind of kicked these off by kind of giving your background and your influences, how you got started playing music.
Yeah. Well, I was born and raised here in Nashville, around the Nashville area, and grew up in the church, in the Baptist church, and so I guess going as far back as I can remember, some of the old hymns or some of the first things I was singing. And at the same time, my dad really introduced me to classic rock, some classic country. And so I got a healthy dose of that growing up too. Got my first guitar when he was also really into sports. And so had me doing, little league baseball and played some football in middle school, and basketball was my favorite. And then I didn't make the 7th grade basketball team. And for Christmas that year, I got a guitar, and my dad played a little bit, and they had one around the house. But when I got that guitar for Christmas, I mean, it was off to the races from there. And prior to that, I had really been telling stories through different mediums. I had even really already written songs. I think my first song was called "The Spirit of Christmas," and and I was 8 years old, and so I just had some lyrics down. But I was always writing stories, fantasy stories based on, Legos or action figures, or, just coming up with all these things. And I filled these booklets up with little comic books and stories like that. So as soon as I got a guitar, and I mean, it wasn't long after that I was already writing my own songs with it.
Right. Yeah, you were creative right out the gate, man. You were.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had someone pick a guitar in my hand early, but I went down the road with sports. I played sports forever, but I wish someone would have given me a banjo at age 8 or something.
Oh, I know, man. Or get me started on pedal steel or fiddle at a young age, man. That was I'd always have a solid job held on with that, especially here. But yeah, it was, growing up where I did, it's just tons of musician kids. And I went to high school with a couple of guys from the Kings of Leon band. Um, and we had this little music club in Mount Juliet High School. And we had this little music club called the Cafe Express, and all the local kids would go play there, and teenage bands. So we formed our first band, played some talent shows, and um, would play over there. And so I guess I was about 13 when I started my first band, and just played in several bands throughout high school of uh, just all different kinds of genres, mostly heavier stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, you know, I think it's a lot of that angst, just from being a teenager, and I have realized this is somewhat of a trend in country and roots artists having similar upbringings where they're into the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Early.
I never pieced it all together until I started this show.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's so many artists I've had on here that were as into punk or metal or hardcore, just all kinds of different stuff before, and now they're doing roots and country and bluegrass. It's like it's strange, but yeah, there's definitely some sort of correlation or something going on there. Because I grew up on people screaming in microphones. It wasn't country music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what can you tell me about this new record, man? Mulling it over.
Mulling it over. Yeah, man. I hope you had a chance to listen through it.
Yeah, I did.
I'm pretty proud of it, man. How it all
sounds good.
Thank you.
I wanna ask you about the cover, because I noticed you put online. It was like your cover of the album, you stand in front of a church. Then you had all these other like legendary artists had similar, the churches in the background, kind of the classic. What brought you to come up with that?
Well, that church is Donaldson First Baptist Church. It's right off Lebanon Road, and my grandma, who's probably my biggest musical inspiration in the family, she's singing there with me on the ninth track, the Wouldn't It Be Wonderful. She actually wrote that, but she started attending that church in 1959, and my parents met at that church in Sunday school, and I grew up going there for the first, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 years of my life. And it just, it's where I came from as far as the whole, mulling it over, mulling my whole life over, getting real retrospective with it, which we all had a lot of time to do last year. And I just kind of, that's where I came from, man, like that church, and it's still standing. And I also thought, my faith is a really, really big part of my life. And a couple years ago, I guess, I've only been putting out music now for 3 years as a solo artist. And it wasn't too long into it that I just realized that I had to be open about my faith as an artist, and incorporate that into it as well. So I thought there would be there would be no better way than to just make it so overt, where I'm right in front of the church holding a Bible. And there was a time when all of our heroes, the legendary artists, when they would cut a gospel album, they would put them out in front of a church
Yep.
And
I got several of those albums too. So I was like, yeah, man, that's great.
yeah,
Mix it all in.
yeah, you don't see much of that anymore now.
No, yeah, it was definitely a throwback feel, which I liked a lot.
Yeah,
So how many songs did we end up on that album?
10.
10?
Yeah,
Yeah. I've listened through it a couple different times, and it's cool because you do have, especially after you tell me about your upbringing, you have your country, and you hear the church within your music and lyrics, and then you mix in a little bit of bluegrass type string music in there, and that
yeah.
just ties it all together real nice. It flows nice, and it's not one thing. So it's got a cool vibe to it. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, that was. I really can't say how much of an intention was put into the variety. Now I love all kinds of music. So it's hard for me to stay in one spot sonically. And I'm not, and I didn't really grow up with bluegrass. I wish I had more. But definitely the gospel side of it. I mean, those songs can be sung a lot of them congregationally as well as in a more bluegrass style. Um, but I was attending Dickerson Road Baptist Church, and the music minister is Billy Smith. He's the son of Hazel Smith, who's a pretty well-known publicist. Back in the day, she worked with Tom Paul Glaser, and they say she coined the outlaw term for that
Cool.
whole movement in the 70s. Yeah. And but just a big part of that scene, and was in with Bill Monroe, and so Billy had that influence big time, and I came up with that one and had Billy and his wife on the track, and that was a real honorable way to close the record out.
Yeah. Some of my favorites, well, one of them I hope is not true. Keep All My Roses. I hope that's not a true story. But it it wouldn't be you because you'd be locked up.
That's true. Yeah.
So I was like, well, maybe you know somebody. I mean, that's good country music or anything. I mean, that tells a story and people listen. When you definitely had me drawn in. I was listening to every lyric on that one.
Oh
For
man.
people listening, definitely go check that one out and see what you think. And you know what? I love sad country. I don't know what it is. I've asked other artists, like, why are we so drawn to sad music? I think it's just because we all can relate to it. It's easier to relate to something. We've all been through hard times, and there's something to grab there. But it's hard. There's no one good, perfect answer for it.
Yeah. Well, I've been kind of shocked by the reception on Keep All My Roses.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the breakout. It almost didn't make the record. Out of all the songs, that was the one that I almost didn't end up putting on there. And now it is, like everything I write, it is based on some true experiences in my life. And that first verse is true. Now there was, the alcohol, some of the, the second part kind of is too. I mean, the alcoholism and the infidelity
Mm-hmm.
within a band. I, had a 3-piece band for a while with a fiddler and a drummer, and sure enough, yeah. That first verse is true. But yeah, I did get drunk, and I got a couple DUIs. In fact, I got 3 alcohol related charges in 3 different states in 3 years. And 2 of those were DUIs, and there was no vehicular homicide though. So
That's good. Yeah, man. I was like, whoa, what just happened? Rewind that. I gotta make sure. Yeah, that's a good song. It's tough. I'm sure that gives a little bit of the edge to the album, give it a little bit of that outlaw flavor too, I think.
Yeah.
So well rounded. What about Thank God they closed the honky tonks? I really like that one too, because I'm a big fan of Timbo that's on that track.
Oh man.
He's
Yeah.
great,
Man, Timbo is my favorite country singer in Nashville or maybe the world, but definitely here in town, he is my favorite, and he's a great guy. Um, and it's kind of funny because that was the first song I wrote after the whole COVID quarantine thing kicked in, and it was like a Friday night, and um, I just sat down and started, and I had in my mind, the old Red Simpson song, close up the honky tonks. Buck Owens did it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so like I had this song in my mind, and it's kind of like a poignant answer song to that. It's like, well, you, you got what you wanted, and they closed them all. And in this cheating relationship, the guy is thanking God because she can't go out and cheat on him anymore. And but when I was writing it right there, I mean, that's one of those that just spilt off. Wrote it in 10-15 minutes, and I just had Timbo's voice in my mind writing it, and just the way, his style in a way, and I played it for him a couple months later, and he came up and he loved it and said he was going to do it and stuff. Well, we got down the road, and actually I recorded it, I put it out as a single, and then that kind of kicked off the album. I had no intention of making a full-length album last year when this whole thing started, but then it was that song, and my buddy Jack Evan Johnson of Devil's Tower Records tapped me. He was putting together a John Prine tribute album, with another buddy, Andy from Groove Family Records, and it was going to be like a double album, 20 artists, and we're going to put it out for charity, for the Nashville Rescue Mission, which was the Prine's charity of choice. So I was immediately in on it, and Jack suggested that I do "You Never Even Call Me by My Name," and that wasn't the first song or two I had to, so because there's so many Prine songs. I just and to pick one,
no, I couldn't pick one.
Yeah. So he suggested that. Yeah. He suggested I do that, and I cut it with old Jerry Webb at the helm, and once I was two songs in, I figured, I don't foresee this like ending soon, and the band was kind of down and out. There wasn't any show opportunities, so I figured let's just kind of, fortunately I still had my day job going at the time, so still had some money coming in and was able to self-fund the full record. And I thought I'll just go ahead and make a full record, and ended up putting thank God they closed the honky tonks in there, and got Timbo over to the studio to sing on it. And yeah, that was just a thrill. I thought that one really turned out well.
It did. Yeah, that's a good one. What's your favorite on the actual record? You have a favorite?
Oh,
or maybe the one that you're most proud of?
Well,
It's too hard.
yeah, that's tough. There's definitely something very special about the last track, the "Do You Know Where You'll Go?" Um, as I was talking earlier about Billy Smith and doing a bluegrass gospel, and there was just really something special about that recording. Um, Almost, I mean, we were, all of us in there, me, Billy, and his wife, and great fiddler Craig Duncan. Um, we're all Christians, and I just really felt like the Holy Spirit was there in the tracking room with us during that one. We did that little fade out ending, and I told him, just let it carry itself out. And we did that. That was, I think, the second take, and then at the time also, Jerry, the producer I've been working with on and off for 6 or 7 years, him and his buddy were selling that studio, and he had forgotten that he had scheduled a viewing with a realty group on that day. This was Black Friday of last year. So right after the session, they leave, and I was going to like tweak some of the master vocal takes on some of the other songs. So I stuck around, and the realty group shows up, these 5 or 6 people to view the place, and lo and behold, they ended up buying it. A few months later, after we finished everything else. So it was Mulling It Over's not only the last album, but that was the last song cut live in that studio. And it's been there, 40 years. It's a motorcycle shop now. But it's been there like 40 years, and there's a lot of buried country music history within those walls, man. He told me Johnny Paycheck first demoed Old Violin in that building. The old group, in the 80s, the Kindles, they cut several of their hits there. Tons of people been through that studio throughout
Man,
the years. So just a little cool piece of buried country history there.
yeah, that is neat. Uh, so I also noticed that you do host a live music show on Wednesday nights here
Yeah.
in town. What
Oh
is
yeah.
that all about? I didn't know you really did that. I just saw a post about it. Is it on air, or is it just like a live show you go see and you're the host?
Well, I started doing live streams with it last year when it got to become a regular weekly thing. I've been playing at Fat Bites. They had a little real cool open mic Tuesday nights back in the day. When I moved back from Asheville, North Carolina in 2015, I started going there, and I reconnected with a lot of the folks I went to high school with, and musicians around the area that I knew and stuff there. So I've been playing at Fat Bites. I love Fat Bites. If you're ever in town, I highly recommend going out and checking it out. Some amazing food and all of that. But I got they had nothing. Fat Bites, in fact, was one of the few venues that didn't close down. Now it's a restaurant too and all that. But they didn't close down a day last year. And from the start of the pandemic in March, they were doing social distance and drive-in shows, and we would set up the stage out front on the patio, and people would pull up in their cars and listen to us, and they'd run food out to them. And then News Channel 5 came out there and did a piece on it, and then sometime in the last summer, I was playing there on and off, and I just said, how about I just do every Wednesday night? And so that kind of kicked it off, and I dubbed it. I thought it like needed a name, it needed a theme or something, and I wasn't gonna like confine it to genre and just keep it like a country and roots thing only or anything like that. But I just thought calling it Wednesday Night Supper, because we had a more supper dinner slot there. It originally was like 6 to 8, and then Austin Stanball would play after that, and then now I guess since this past August or so, I've been stretching it out all Wednesday nights, and it's been an awesome opportunity. We just to flesh out the songs last year on the record, and kind of play them live with my band, and now I've got two working bands that kind of switch in and out there, and they're all my friends, and I have a big network of people around town, great songwriters and musicians that have been, really happy to come out and play. And actually a couple of guys that you've already had on the podcast here, Dylan Walsh and Mose Wilson.
Yeah.
They've come out and on a Wednesday night, and it's always a fun time. And I might get back into live streaming them here, but I was doing it for a while when not many people were showing up, and now, I mean, we're playing usually to a pretty full room, and I don't know. I just the sound guy, and really the kind of general manager of Fat Bites, Abram. He also live streams it from his Facebook page. So I was like, well, if he's live streaming it and I want to review it, then I'll just watch his, because I just wasn't getting much interaction from Instagram or Facebook people watching it every week.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Yeah, that stuff's tough. I think it's people's attention span and stuff, especially with so much going on. There's like something new every 2 seconds right in front of your face.
Yeah.
Have someone sit down and actually watch something. And that's about the only way I could deal with a live stream, is for circumstances like the pandemic. Like, okay, that makes sense. But man, you got to go out. You got to get out there and see it live. It's a live show. And you sit at home eating chips and on the couch. Better get out there.
Yeah, man. I'm totally with you on that, man.
Sure. So I usually ask a few random questions. And they can be short or long answer, no matter. But one is, who's an artist that you would like to work with?
Oh, Sturgill Simpson. I would love to make a record with him.
Yeah.
Kind of co-producing. He just in my opinion overall, he's probably the most interesting artist in the 21st century, of across all genres. And I think we would hit it off well, musically and otherwise. We're both sons of Kentucky coal miners' daughters, and just have a lot of similar tastes. I'd love to work with him. There's a whole lot of people that I'd really love to work with. That's the first name that comes to mind for sure.
Yeah, my mom's a coal miner's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
That's crazy.
Oh, man.
I know it.
Represent. That's rare, man.
Yeah, small world.
Yeah.
That's why I told Mom, like, you can't watch Coal Miner's Daughter. It's like Loretta Lynn. Like, that's our idol, you know? 'Cause I grew up
Yeah.
on that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sturgill's great, man. Like, everything he does. I even like these bluegrass twists he did on his older stuff, and then the new one he just came out with. He I think he's laid up right now. He blew his vocal cords or something or something.
Yeah.
He had to cancel touring or something. Get
Yeah.
something fixed, but hopefully that didn't change his voice too much. Because sometimes that, could be for the good or worse.
Yeah. I mean, God bless him. I hope he bounces back. But even if he don't, he's left us with
Oh yeah.
just amazing. And I think the bluegrass records, I mean, I really think those interpretations of the songs are even better than a lot of
Yeah.
the originals. I
Yeah.
love cutting grass records. Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't think he has one. Now I'm thinking about it. I don't think there's one song I dislike that he's made. I like some more than others, but there's not a bad song.
Right.
So, what another question? Instrument you would like to play? If you could wake up tomorrow, what is an instrument you would just love to have mastered?
I'm going to say the fiddle.
Fiddle. We get a
Yeah.
lot of fiddle answers on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I can scratch a note off one of them.
It's tough. I mean, I have one and I kind of fool around with it, but man, it's a totally different beast. And yeah, I'd love to also play pedal steel, but that's
Yeah,
another whole
that
lifetime of learning.
the pedal steel is like a spaceship to me. Like
Yeah.
I never do that. I'm not even going to try.
I just don't know if I could sit down. Like I don't know if I could stay seated that and get that excited and get that into the music.
Right.
That'd be the tough part for me is staying put on the bench.
Well, they make them where you can stand.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
But still, though, you're like locked behind that thing. You can't be running around.
Well, yeah.
Beatles or Stones? What's your favorite?
Oh, Beatles, no question.
No question.
No question. Yeah. Uh, I was I was raised on the Beatles, and I mean, it was like every year on anybody's birthday, we'd always wake up, and my dad had
birthday.
yeah, my dad have that cranked up 5, 6 in the morning, and yeah, I grew up on all the records, and I don't dislike the Stones. I've always listened to them too, but there's probably maybe 10 songs that I really like. And it really, when it comes down to it, I'm a song guy. And as far as songwriting goes, I just don't think that Jagger Richards, I mean, holds a candle to McCartney and Lennon and even George Harrison. I mean, and I don't think anybody who would say that they prefer the Stones would tell you that on the basis of the songwriting. I don't think anybody would say that the Rolling Stones are better songwriters than the Beatles.
I think what it comes down, well, for me, because I ask this question a lot with me and a buddy that's usually on with me. His work schedule is bad in the evening, so he's not on anymore. But it's always been kind of like this push and pull. He's been more of the Beatles guy. I've been more of the Stones guy, but I love both. It's fine. But I think what we got is where we ended up coming with an agreement is if you're just wanting to put on a record and listen to it, dive into the writing like you're talking about, Beatles for sure. But if I'm going to a live show and just seeing like rock and roll, I want to see some rocking going down. It's got to be the Stones. I think they just kill it.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
to say that obviously the Beatles rock too, but I think Stones would be better in that
Oh
as a live show.
yeah. I mean, you got to take a lot of things into account there too. Like, I mean, they've been touring the world for like 50 years since the Beatles broke up. I mean, so I mean, I wish I could have gone and seen them this last time they were in town. I mean, who knows?
It's really played in Nashville there.
Yeah,
That was a crazy time.
yeah. A lot of my friends went. Now and I saw videos and stuff, and it looked cool. Maybe next time if there is one.
Yeah, the Stones played. I'm here in Indiana, and of course we got the largest racetrack for Indy not NASCAR but IndyCar,
Yeah.
Indy 500. They sold that whole place out basically. I mean, I don't even know how many seats. I mean, you could still get tickets, but they're pricey, and it was just from what everyone said. I was so mad I did not go. Something happened, I couldn't make it, and I was like, man, I can't come up with the money to go to that at the time.
Yeah.
I'm kicking myself because that was the first time they played in Indiana in like 20 something years or something.
Wow. Yeah, so, I don't know if they're gonna be there in another 20 now.
No. No, I think I might have missed my chance. So. All right, man. Well, I won't keep you any longer. I really appreciate you being on the show. You're not going to be doing any touring or anything in the next year, or you got anything like that in the works?
Well, man, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate what you do, and I mean, it is really a blessing to our little niche community to have guys spreading the word about artists that people might not otherwise hear about. And so I just wanted to thank you for that. But man, here's the thing. My wife and I got a baby due.
Yeah, that makes it tough.
3 weeks from tomorrow is the due date. So I originally had a little regional tour set up around the album release. And once we found out about the baby, kind of all that went out of the window. Yep. And so next year it's hard to say. I would love to get out of town. I'm going to try to a little bit maybe later in the year once we can kind of get into the groove of the family life. And I'm gonna really make a concerted effort to try and get out of town and play some shows, because that's just one thing I haven't been able to do. But and that may have it may have kind of held me back a little bit, as far as getting my name out there to different regions and stuff. But that's one thing I'm definitely going to try to do, is get some stuff going outside of Nashville, outside of Tennessee. Maybe make it up there to Indiana. Are you in Indianapolis area?
South side, yeah. We got a nice little honky tonk near here called Duke's Indy.
Duke's, yeah, I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, it's a great spot. It'd be perfect for you if you ever make it up.
Oh man, I'd love to get up there.
Yeah. Well, congrats on the baby. Hopefully everything's good with the family. So
yeah.
But yeah, we'll be in touch. I'll follow you online, and hopefully we can catch you at a show at some point.
Awesome, man. Yeah, holler me if you're ever back in Nashville.
Yeah,
I should be around.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you so much, brother. It's been fun.
All right, we'll catch you later.
All right, peace.